All right, I'm here with a look at my Nintendo DS collection. I really like the Nintendo DS. I wish I had a bigger library for it. It has such a cool and unique library of games. A lot of weird stuff, a lot of weird like niche stuff. It was just kind of a huge boom for just really cool, really interesting stuff that feels like we just don't see anymore. But the obvious problem with DS right now is that it's getting expensive very fast. Like very, very, very fast. This thing's getting expensive. So it's going to be harder to find this stuff. It's hard to find this stuff in the box. It's hard to find this stuff in general. And this stuff's getting expensive, especially if you want it complete. I have a bunch of loose DS games that I'm waiting to put in cases, but if you want this stuff complete, it is getting expensive. So, it looks like it's only getting more and more expensive. So, might be time to start locking it in as far as that stuff goes, but, don't take advice from me. I'm pretty dumb. But I really like the DS a lot, and I'm going to go through my library, tell some stories about how I got this stuff, give some thoughts on the games, all of that stuff. So, first game is starting it out strong, really exciting one here. 100 Classic Books. I find this just really interesting. Nintendo put out a, collection of 100, public domain books that you can just read on the DS, like a book. Kind of interesting, kind of pre-e-reader a little bit. We're probably not the most, if not the most interesting lineup of books for the modern era. Some of these you're probably not going to be wanting to read, but I find it interesting nonetheless, just because they were willing to do this. But obviously, not exactly the most interesting, but cool nonetheless. What I find fascinating about this is that there's no ESRB rating because it's technically not a game or anything. So there is no ESRB rating on this, so it didn't need to be ESRB rated. I find that fascinating. Only I would find that fascinating, but it is mildly fascinating. 999, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. So this is kind of a classic adventure game for the DS by this point, part of the Zero Escape series. I'm really big into adventure games, all that stuff. I was never into. I played through 999 and everything. It's good. I was just never into it as much as I liked some of the other stuff, Ace Attorney, and then later like Danganronpa. Although Kotaro Uchikoshi went on to do the AI the Somnium File series after this series, and I think that series is fantastic. So kind of an interesting starting point, interesting place to look at it. It's still a good game, but. And this is the original print run cover. There was a second print run that kind of tied it more into the Zero Escape and had a more generic cover. But this is the original print run cover, and cool to have in the collection. Cool game. Just maybe not as big of a fan as some people. This is one I want to play. I haven't checked this one out yet. It's called Again. This is by Sing, Cing. They don't exist anymore. They did. They're probably better known for Hotel Dusk and what's that game? Trace Memory. Some games they did with Nintendo. They did this one with Koei Tecmo as publisher, and I've not ever really heard too many people talk about this one. I got this as a garage sale for $1 of all places, but would like to try this one out because Sing is, that was just kind of a cool, interesting adventure game publisher that didn't really end up going anywhere. Interesting adventure game developer that didn't really just end up going anywhere. And unfortunately shut down. Animal Crossing Wild World. So I kind of went straight from GameCube Animal Crossing to City Folk on the Wii. So I did not play this one as much. I know a lot of people saw this game as like a huge step up for the series, and then City Folk was not as big of a step up because it was similar to this but on a console. But I didn't get this step up, so I was like, man, City Folk, this is a huge step up. So that kind of paints my opinion there. But classic Nintendo DS game. I don't really like that they got rid of like real world holidays. I never put too much time into this one, but as far as Animal Crossing, this one's iconic, but I'm not going to probably go back to it anytime soon. One of the things I kind of like to get for DS collecting is just kind of software that was put out. So Nintendo put out Art Academy. They kept going with this franchise. There was one on the Wii U and everything. And I just thought this was cool. Like they really went all out and were like, yeah, the DS, it's a game console, but there's also other applications for it. You can read royalty-free books. You can draw. And I have some more odd software later on that we will certainly get into. There's another garage sale find for $1. Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, one of the 3 Castlevania games that hit the DS. And this one, very expensive game now. They all are, but yeah, it's just funny. I just got it at a garage sale for $1. I have them loose, the other 2 games, but I don't have them complete or anything. I have not, I'd like to get more into the Castlevanias of this, like the real Metroidvania Castlevania types. I've not really dove into that too much. I feel like I'd like it, so maybe someday soon, but haven't really touched this one too much. A weird one. Chibi Robo Park Patrol. This one's just kind of weird. As you can see, it was only sold at Walmart. Just kind of bizarre. I don't really know what they were doing with that one. But it's a shame. Chibi Robo, I think, could be a fun series, and it's been pretty much left to die. I think Skip is gone now. I think they closed up shop. So I'm thinking that it's going to be over for our buddy Chibi Robo, but they really didn't do any favors for him by making his second game in the United States be exclusive only at Walmart on the DS. And then they made some 3DS turds with him that weren't anything like the original game. Chrono Trigger. So this is one of many games that I got from the Square Enix Black Friday sale. They were like liquidating their online store. Probably like 2014. I'm going to say 2013, 2014. They were like liquidating that online store that they have. And just at Black Friday, they would sell stuff like this for like $3. I'm not joking. So I got a bunch of Square Enix DS games. Some of them are still sealed. This was one of them, and this is another high on the backlog one. I started it and got, a little bit into it, and then I didn't finish it. This was definitely one on the backlog because I've never actually played through Chrono Trigger, which I know is probably a shame, but someday. I really like the DSi XL. That's like my favorite model of the DS. And I think that thing's so comfortable and so good. I gotta pop that thing back out and, do some DS stuff because I really like the DS. And as far as retro game consoles go, it's pretty easy to just kind of slip back into. It's a great system. Contact. This is a Grasshopper manufacturer developed Earthbound-like RPG. Kind of Earthbound inspired, and it's pretty neat, pretty cool. Atlas published it over here in the West, and yeah, good one to get. It's definitely going for that Earthbound like inspiration. This is a garage sale find. I don't think I've ever played this one. If it was, I don't remember it. Crash Boom Bang. I think this is like a party game. It's supposed to be like a Crash Bash type game sequel. I don't think I ever really touched it. Diddy Kong Racing DS. Diddy Kong Racing's pretty fun. This is a great, version of it for the DS. It was always so weird to me how Microsoft let Rare still work on like DS games since they didn't have a handheld. So they made those Banjo-Kazooie, Game Boy Advance games, and they made this and Viva Pinata on DS. That was always so strange to me. But pretty cool, I guess. Like you'd think that they would want their resources on something that would be on their system, but I guess if it brings in the money, it brings in the money. So yeah, good port of the game. Good DS game, fun racing game. If you want like a change from Mario Kart. Next up is a game I feel like no one ever talks about, and probably for good reason. There's not really much of a reason to talk about it. DK Jungle Climber. Pretty, standard basic game. Nothing too exciting with this one, but I feel like this is like, there's some DK games like King of Swing and stuff where it's just like, yeah, these are completely forgotten. Kind of a weird era of Donkey Kong where they're like, yeah, we got bongo games and we got weird spin-offs, but we're not going to do anything else with Donkey Kong, really. Although Donkey Kong Jungle Beat's pretty good. I got Dragon Quest IV here. That's the only of the classic Dragon Quest. These are expensive. I got this at a GameStop, actually, luckily enough. Not, 2015, I think. I got it as part of their, like, buy two, get one. I also have Dragon Quest IX. Let me try to get these in center a little bit more. And yeah, I find it so fascinating. I think it's really cool that they brought all these Dragon Quest, like, the classics to DS. It's really interesting. You can play every Dragon Quest game on a Nintendo handheld in some way. Whether it be, the first two are on Game Boy or Game Boy Color, and then they got these on the DS. This is kind of Saga on the DS. 3 is on Game Boy Color, I'm pretty sure. Besides 10 over here, but I think you can play that on Switch. Dragon Quest XI's on Switch. They got the DS games, and they got the 3DS, 7 and 8. So you can play like all of these on Nintendo handhelds. I think that's really cool. Dragon Quest 9 was really interesting though, because you had Dragon Quest 7 on PS1, then you had Dragon Quest 8 on PS2, and then they kind of took a step back. I mean, their whole thing has always been to develop for like the most popular system in Japan. So it makes sense why they go to the DS, but it's kind of interesting that they, in some ways, took a step back. But yeah, Dragon Quest, of course, classic series as well, but just really cool support from Square Enix on this one. I also have, and this is one I don't have too much experience with either, Dragon Quest Monsters 2 Joker. So there you have that one too. Another one, I feel like this one somewhat gets forgotten. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. So this is the remake of Fire Emblem 1 that we got over here on the DS. It's kind of like that last Fire Emblem game before the series got big in some way, where Awakening came out and got kind of big. But this is a pretty good one. Don't know what else to say. A good remake of the first game. And I feel like most people forget that this exists, that there's a remake of the first game out there. They remade Gaiden on 3DS. Like, I don't know, just kind of interesting. This is still sealed. Final Fantasy IV. Another one of those Square Enix shops, $3 games that I just haven't opened. Going through Final Fantasy for a while, Square Enix had great support for the DS. Especially a lot of Final Fantasy stuff. Final Fantasy 12 Revenant Wings. This is an interesting one since 12 was a PS2 game. That they kind of made this follow-up on the DS is pretty interesting. But I don't really like Final Fantasy 12. I've tried it a few times, and I know people really like it, but I've tried it a few times. I just couldn't get into it. And so I haven't really played this one very much, so I don't have a lot to say. Got a couple more Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Rings of Fate, which I've not played. Don't remember where I got this one. I never really cared too much about like Crystal Chronicles either, if I'm going to be fair. And then two more sealed ones that I got from Square Enix that I just never got around to. Final Fantasy IV Heroes of Light, which is kind of like a precursor to the Bravely Default series. You can see with like the art style and everything, and kind of the way it plays just dropped it, so ruined the value. But yeah, I like the art style. Yeah, but I just did not play this one, and it's still sealed. Another one, that was a Square Enix store, and this was a Square Enix store, Tactics A2. I'd like to get through the whole Tactics series at some point, because I know that they're great. But it's just one of those things, guys. The backlog is so huge. The backlog is so big. Here's a pretty expensive one, an interesting one. Take a shot every time I say interesting in this video. This is Flower, Sun, and Rain. This is a Suda51 game. And this was originally out on PS2 in Japan, and then they ported it over here to DS. Very, very rare game. And I don't usually use rare lightly, but this is just a game you don't find. Interesting story about this one is that for $3 I found it cartridge only back in the day at a pawn shop, and then I finally, just earlier this year, completed it. A case and manual only went up on eBay. Buyer had it for $130, and I set an offer for like $80, kind of just trolling, seeing what happened, and they accepted it. So completed the game for like $83, about half of what it goes for. It goes anywhere from like $150 to $200, and yeah, pretty cool game. Not, it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit like obtuse, but not a bad deal at the very least, right? Game & Watch collection. These were Club Nintendo exclusives. I don't have the second one, but they did a second one too. And it's just a little collection of Game & Watch games. Kind of neat, kind of interesting. It's cool that they, were willing to put software up as Club Nintendo exclusives. Like, you get this and you got a brand new DS game. Like, it wasn't maybe the most interesting DS game, but still cool that they were willing to put up software on Club Nintendo. Club Nintendo is so much better than what we have now. My Nintendo, that sucks so bad. Here's another great game. This is an expensive one, but it's getting a re-release soon. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. This is one of the best DS games, in my opinion. This is from the creator, Shu Takumi. This is from the creator of like the Ace Attorney series. And it's a really cool puzzle game about you are this ghost guy trying to figure out what happened to cause his death and trying to go around. It's a really neat idea. It's funny. It definitely has that Ace Attorney charm to it. Really, really great game. And it unfortunately, didn't do too great when it came out. There's not very many copies of it out there, but it is getting a re-release soon. That was me opening up my bottle of sparkling water. That was not me like farting or something. But it is coming, I think, next month is this video coming out in June, maybe July, something like that. It is coming to Switch, so highly, highly, highly recommend this one, as long as the port, the conversion to Switch is good. Another series I'd like to get into more, Golden Sun, Dark Dawn. I played a little bit of the first one, but I've never really got into this series too much. But it's kind of cool, Camelot, who does the Mario tennis games mostly, Mario Golf, some of those sports games, did this series, and now they're kind of in the Mario Sports gulag right now. But it would be cool to see them kind of come back and try it again. But I guess Mario Sports games make more money. Here we go, guys. The game of all games. Herbie Rescue Rally. Need I say more? Sorry for the creaking on the chair I'm sitting on. I don't. Hotel Dusk, Room 215, another really cool game. I talked about Sing earlier. And yeah, really cool game. Really unique art style. You hold it like a book. You hold the DS like a book. And it's a adventure game type situation. Great game. It's been so long since I played it now. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember really liking it. Just really cool. This right here is actually the sequel. Last Window. This is the sequel to it. We did not get it in the United States. And it came out in Europe, so there is an English version. This is the Japanese version, obviously. So I've not played the sequel. I'd like to get a European version at some point so I can at least give it a go, but because I don't think there's any English on the Japanese cart. But there is a sequel out there that we just didn't get in the United States for some reason. Another Square Enix $3 deal, Kingdom Hearts 358/2. Not played this one. I'm not going to make a comment about how goofy the title is. And goofy, that was not a pun. Kingdom Hearts Recoded. Once again, don't have much to say about this. This was just a cell phone version of... this was a cell phone game that they ported to DS. I don't have too much to say about that one. Got some Kirby here. Kirby Mass Attack. I like this one. This one doesn't get talked about enough. This was like kind of the last DS game that I remember getting. The 3DS was already out at this point, and this was kind of like the last DS game that I really grabbed. And this is a fun one. I feel like this one is kind of overlooked as far as Kirby games go. You don't hear people talk about it too much, but interesting concept, interesting game. So yeah. We also have, I'm going to fire run through Kirby Squeak Squad because I don't feel, everyone knows Kirby Squeak Squad at this point. So Kirby, had some solid titles on the DS. Like Kirby fans are always eating good as far as Nintendo fans go. Kirby always gets this support. Kirby Superstar Saga, another good one. Pretty fun game. Kind of a, reimagining of the Super Nintendo game. Not sure if reimagining is the right word, but, pretty cool game. And... yeah, Kirby had some nice games. I don't have, what's that game called? Canvas Curse. I played Rainbow Curse on the Wii U. I didn't really like that one, but I think it was more just because I don't want to play that on the Wii U. Speaking of games that I've never cared too much for, well, I've only ever played a little bit of Phantom Hourglass. I didn't like it. I don't like the stupid touchscreen control link type thing. Wasn't crazy about it. I know if you look past that, some people say that this game is pretty cool, but I just never really got into it because of that. But maybe I ought to give it a second chance. And because of that, not really liking Phantom Hourglass, I never gave Spirit Tracks a shot. I've never played this one. One of the few Zelda games I've never really experienced. So maybe I should give these games a shot again at some point, because I know people like Spirit Tracks more than they like Phantom Hourglass, but I don't know. This is coming from someone too, who's Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda game, so you'd think I would appreciate the follow-ups, but might not always just be the case. And Lego Indiana Jones, I had this one as a kid. This was one of when I was a kid, and it's just one of those things where I was really into Lego Indiana Jones, and I was like, I'm going to play it again on the DS. So they had the DS version, and you know how that goes. So yeah. Next up, we got some. We're going into the M, so of course we're hitting Mario. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. I remember playing this game on a vacation, and yeah, this one's pretty good. It's weird that they, remade uh, Superstar Saga, and then they skipped over this and remade Bowser's Inside Story for the 3DS. Would have probably been more beneficial to try to remake this one because there is some weird stuff about this one. But this is a pretty fun game, and I don't see too many people talk about that compared to the other ones. And it's certainly better than what the series kind of ended up becoming. Bowser's Inside Story, I think, is very clearly, though, the better game. And this is another one I remember playing on a vacation. And this game's great. Great soundtrack. A lot of fun. Fun versions of the characters and everything. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. I have nothing to say. I don't think I've ever played this DS version. The DS versions are kind of interesting. Like some of I think the 3DS ones were like developed partially by Spike Chunsoft and stuff like that. So kind of weird there. Mario Hoops 3-on-3. This is this was actually developed by Square Enix. So there's some, just like Mario Sports Mix, there's some Square Enix, Dragon Quest characters, Final Fantasy mascot characters, stuff like that in it as well. Which I find kind of neat. But this, come on, guys, look at this cover art. It goes so hard. Look at Mario dunking on Donkey Kong. It goes so hard. Great, great, great cover art. Next up, we got Mario Kart DS. This is another one similar to like Animal Crossing Wild World, where I played a ton of the Wii version, but I never really played too much of the DS version. This is, of course, a bona fide school trip classic on the bus. But I never played too much of this one because I played so much of the Wii game. But this is a pretty good, Mario Kart entry as far as what I've played, later on. Mario Party DS, never really played with this one. Played this one too much. Kind of just an anomaly. Once again, I just Mario Party on handheld has never appealed to me too much, just because it's like I'd rather just play these on the console with people and not just try to play this by myself or try to get my friends all to buy the game or play download play or whatever. Not exactly my thing. Mario vs. Donkey Miniland Mayhem. This Mario vs. Donkey was Kong. Did I say Mario vs. Donkey? Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Miniland Mayhem. This is like one of those weird things where they were really pushing this series for a while, and I don't quite understand why. Like, it's fine, it's okay, but they were like cranking these games out. They were like constantly putting them out on like digital eShop and stuff. They were really cranking these out, and they're fine, they're good, but it's like, they're perfectly serviceable puzzle games, but Nintendo really loved this series for some reason. I don't quite get why. We got here Mega Man ZX, another one I have not really played. I have the ZX and Zero Legacy Collection on Switch, so I'd probably play it there, but I've heard good things about these ones. These were from Inti Creates, who is a pretty big Japanese developer of like retro style games, so I'm sure they're good because those guys have a pretty good track record, except for Galgun, which is rather not talk about. Meteos Disney Magic. So I prefer to have the regular Meteos, but I got this for like pennies on the dollar, I think. But Meteos was the game Sakurai made when he went off from Nintendo and from HAL, and kind of did this before getting back into the Smash Brothers and Kid Icarus. He did just this simple puzzle game, and then with I think it was Bandai Namco, who was a publisher, and then somehow Disney got involved. I don't think he had anything to do with this one. I don't know if he was even really crazy about Disney being involved with it, but, publishers, am I right, guys? Metroid Prime Hunters. This is a pretty impressive game for the DS to kind of have like a first-person... I wouldn't say the Metroid Prime games are first-person shooters, but like a first-person adventure shooter like this. Pretty impressive. I know people really liked the online play, but it was like dead by the time I got this game at a garage sale maybe 10 years ago. So didn't ever get to give it a chance, but pretty impressive game for what it is. Namco Museum. It's a collection of Namco games. I don't need to explain what Namco Museum is. This one's kind of interesting. This was a pawn shop find. It's a puzzle game. I thought it was interesting that it was developed and published by Ukes, who do the They do, or maybe it was just published by Ukes, which is weird. They did the WWE 2K games for a while, and then they had a split with 2K, and then the WWE 2K games were bad for a little while, and then I think they're doing an AEW game now. They also did that really tacky wrestling game with anime girls, Rumble Roses. New Super Mario Brothers Wii is not the name of this game. This is New Super Mario Brothers. And this is another one I played a ton of the Wii game. I played this one. I didn't ever play like a ton of it, but I played it, and it's New Super Mario Brothers is now what? This game's like 18 years old now. It's not new anymore, guys. It's actually old Super Mario Brothers. Nintendogs. This is a game I got with my DS when I first got it, and this is a cute idea. It's fun. Little idea. Definitely good for like younger kids. As a grown adult, you're probably not going to be all in on this one. I'm not going to judge though if you are. I get it, but I'm surprised they have not done anything with Nintendogs recently, just because of how big it was. There's no Switch game. I'm surprised they didn't turn it to like a mobile game or something. I feel like that would be a huge deal, huge thing. But as it stands, nice, neat little idea for the DS. Okami Den. This is cool that they did this. I've not ever finished the original Okami, so I've not played this game, but it's cool that they did this, and it's a nice, neat little game. Looks pretty cute. Good. Looks good for the DS. I appreciate that they did that. Personal Trainer Cooking. I got this for $1. It's still sealed. This was developed, weirdly enough, by Indie Zero, who does like the theater rhythm games. They did Melody of Memory, the Kingdom Hearts game. They're kind of a for-hire studio that does a bunch of weird stuff. But once again, I find this interesting. It has recipes on it. You can set your DS on the counter and then say like continue, and it'll read the recipes out. I find it fascinating. Weird piece of software. I love that it has to be rated E but have alcohol reference, because they probably, cooking alcohol counts as alcohol. I think that's immensely funny. But yeah. All right, guys. Phoenix Wright. You guys know Ace Attorney's an all-timer for me. And these games, this is such a great lineup of games. So I got the first two here. And these games, the first game is such a classic at this point. And the second game is great too. Not quite as good as the first one. There's some cases that are a little fillery. But still some great stuff in the second game. And these games are just all-timers. You can play them on the Switch and the PS4 and the Xbox One, PC. I would recommend the new Trilogy collection. Well, it's not new anymore. It's from like 2019. I'd recommend that Trilogy collection. It's a really great version of these games, but awesome, iconic DS games. Originally Game Boy Advance games, as we all know. But next up we got Trials and Tribulations. And Apollo Justice, the third and fourth game. Trials and Tribulations is my favorite one, and it's like the fan favorite. That game is so good. And then Apollo Justice is like the fourth game. It has some good aspects to it. It's my least favorite of the mainline games, but it's still pretty good. And yeah, it's just a great series. They moved on with it with the DS. But we also got two spin-off games for they moved on with it on the 3DS, I should say. And then they got two spin-off games on the DS here. With the investigation games, which are getting pricey. This Investigations 1 is pretty pricey, and then we didn't get 2 over the United States. Came out in Japan. I'm not going to advocate for piracy or anything, but so don't do this. You have to rip your own DS cartridge. If you rip your own DS cartridge, then you can get a fan, like a fan ROM, or fan patch to play the game in English. And it's such a shame that this game didn't come out in the United States, because it's like one of the best Ace Attorney games. I think the first one the first Investigations is like probably my least of the whole series, but the second one is like it's up there. It's really high. It's a really great game. So it's just a shame we didn't get that over here, but I think there's more of a chance now than ever that we'll get that localized, officially, finally. Because, they localized Great Ace Attorney. It seems like those did pretty well. So, yeah. Picross 3D. It's Picross on the DS. There's 10 trillion Picross games. We all know it. I have a lot of Pokemon games. A lot of Pokemon mainline titles. So, I need White 2 still. But as far as Pokemon goes, we got here Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which are remakes of the second generation. Very well liked and pretty good games. Moving along, we got Diamond, we got Pearl, and we got Platinum. I don't have too much experience with Gen 4, so I don't really have too much to say there. But I really like Gen 5. This was like the last Pokemon that I played to completion, Pokemon Black and White. And these ones, I think, were really good. They're a little bit talkative. Like, they're a little bit long-winded with their story. But I still think they're pretty good. And I haven't liked Pokemon games as much since then. But it's also that, I was a teenager when those games came out. So that's probably why. And then Black 2, I still need a copy of White 2. I have like 3 empty case and manuals for it. So one day I'll hopefully find it. Next up, though, I don't have the manual for this game, but Pokemon Conquest. This is a strategy game from the Koei Tecmo team. I believe it's from their team that does Nobunaga's Ambition, and I can't remember what that team is named, but pretty interesting concept. It's like Pokemon and in like ancient days, ancient like China, where they have Pokemon. Very interesting, very weird concept, but pretty cool game. Still going with Pokemon, the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. I'm not huge into roguelikes, and I haven't played too much of these ones as compared to the most of them I played was on the Game Boy Advance game. What was that? Red Rescue Team. I played that one, and I'm just not big into roguelikes personally. Pokemon Ranger, kind of the forgotten spin-off series. They made a bunch of these for some reason. And I don't have any experience with the sequels here, Guardian Signs and Shadows of Almia, so I will spare your time there. Moving on, though, we're going into Professor Layton, which I'm shocked with how Professor Layton games have skyrocketed in price. Like, it's amazing. I'm surprised, like, Level 5 hasn't re-released them on, like, Switch or anything like that. Maybe they are. I feel like they are, but they put them on mobile. Like, why haven't they re-released these on Switch? So these are the first two, Curious Village and Diabolical Box. Well, I don't know why I said Diabolic. And Curious Village, I feel like it's a kind of a start. Like, you kind of get what they're going for, but it doesn't quite set up what I like about Professor Layton until a little bit. That's kind of more starts with Diabolical Box. And then as we get into the other games is when I really feel like the series picks up. But they're short. I remember I would play through these games. I think I played through the original 3 all in one sitting. Like they're like 6-hour games, and then we got Unwound Future and the Last Spectre. Last Spectre especially has gotten pretty expensive. Unwound Future is my favorite. I think this game's really great and has a really great story and everything. And then it has the puzzles, of course. I feel like they don't miss with the puzzles. But what's interesting about the American copy of Last Spectre, actually, and I don't think other regions got this, did they? Is that there is the London Life bonus game on here, which is an RPG developed by Brownie Brown, I'm pretty sure, who did a little known game called Mother 3. So kind of interesting that was a little bonus that they just threw on there. But yeah, Professor Layton's got shot up in price. I'm looking at Azran Legacy and stuff on 3DS. I'm amazed. I mean, that's a good game too, but it's just kind of strange to me. But Radiant Historia, I've heard good things about this one. I've not played it. Another great one, Rhythm Heaven. I really appreciate this series. I hope it comes back in some way. Just a lot of fun, weird, little rhythm games, and you kind of just do your thing. I'm really, really selling it, aren't I? But it's hard to explain, but it's also, it's like deceptively easy, but also kind of hard to explain. But yeah, Rhythm Heaven's awesome. I hope they come back with this. All these rhythm games and you're doing your thing, yeah. That was a really great way of putting it. Scribblenauts and its sequel, Super Scribblenauts. So, Scribblenauts, I feel like it's a good test ground where it's a great idea for a puzzle game, a really great idea for a puzzle game. And then I feel like Super Scribblenauts really was the game that showed oh, okay, now this is what they're going for. The first one's a little buggy, a little bit weird, but the second one is oh yeah. And I would say this is one of the best. Super Scribblenauts is one of the best DS games. A lot of fun, great concept for a puzzle game where you just kind of write. You could have a little journal, you write anything, and then it puts it in the game. Obviously, anything within reason, but you write anything, it puts it in the game, and you solve puzzles that way. I remember, I used to put like Atom Bomb in, and then like just blow up the stage, and then I would beat the stage sometimes, but usually would kill you. It was like so ridiculous, but a lot of fun, great game. If you have kids, especially, I feel like kids would love this. And they're on the Switch now. I'm pretty sure they have Switch versions. They did some 3DS and Wii U games as well. But it's a series. They did like a party game that was like crappy. I don't know what they were thinking with that. It's a series I feel like they could do more with because I think it's a really neat franchise. We got Sonic. Sonic Colors is like the Sonic Rush games. I don't know why they decided to kind of brand it as Sonic Colors when that was, the Wii game, and this is pretty much Sonic Rush 3, but it's good. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood is a BioWare Sonic RPG, and it sucks. The music's horrible. Legend is that the music is stolen from like Sonic fan music, and the music is just atrocious. It's just horrible. It's something special. I don't really know what they were going for with this one. They obviously didn't do very well with it. It's not good. Listen to the soundtrack sometime. You'll thank me. Sonic Classic Collection. Nice little collection of classic Sonic games. 1, 2, and then 3 and Knuckles. So yeah, I mean that's a nice little bundle to have on the DS. The ports, from what I remember, were pretty good. It's not like Sonic Genesis on the Game Boy Advance, which is just horrible. But Sonic Rush, fun Sonic game. I feel like Sonic had his dark ages, quote unquote, on the consoles, and then secretly they were like cranking out some pretty solid Sonic games on the handhelds over here. Rush and Rush Adventure were both pretty good, 2D Sonic games. Good soundtrack too by Hideki Naganuma, who has probably the most insufferable Twitter account because it's just all brain rot. Spyro Shadow Legacy. I think wasn't this supposed to be like Spyro 5 or something? This is an anomaly, weird Spyro game that somehow I feel like somehow they kind of showed like, oh yeah, this is a 5th Spyro game or something. I don't know. Star Fox Command, kind of cool for the DS, but not really anything that I care too much about. I know that there's like weird non-canon endings that are kind of cursed for this game. I don't know, just kind of bizarre. So I don't know, but kind of a forgotten one. This was from Q Games, wasn't it? Q Games developed this? I believe Q Games developed this one, which is kind of neat, but not too memorable. Super Princess Peach. This game is really expensive for some reason now. I don't really understand why it's so expensive. I don't know if the movie spiked the price or I don't know, but pretty pricey game now. It's fine. I wouldn't recommend, going out. It's not like one of these games where I'm like, this is so amazing, it's worth the expensive price it is. Like, no, it's fine, but there's better ways to spend your money. And I did it finally. It's not an object gaming video if you're new to the channel without me bumping my tripod at some point. And I did it. I waited until like 38 minutes in, but I did it. So anyone who's still here, leave a comment. For what should I make us comment here? We'll leave a comment and say touch and roll. That's the game that we're commenting. It's a not very good monkey ball game. Mario 64 DS. It's Mario 64 on DS. There's new playable characters. Pretty good port. I'd rather play the original one though. I'm going to be honest. Let me see what we got here. Tales of the Tempest. This was a game that we didn't get over here from the Tales series. I got this while I was in Japan. And I like the cool box art. Kind of neat. But not played this one since I wouldn't understand, what's going on. Teresia, this is one that I'd like to play. This is like a weird kind of horror adventure game from my knowledge. One of the few DS games that's rated M. And yeah, I just thought this was interesting. Pretty uncommon game. I was able to snap it up before I got too uncommon. But yeah, I've heard interesting things. And once again, take a shot every time I say interesting. You'll probably be dead. Time Hollow is a Konami kind of adventure game. It's fair. It's not like, mind-blowing, like not a great adventure game. But it's pretty solid. It's pretty decent. If you like this kind of game, I'd recommend it. But it's not gonna like blow you away. The story is not like some kind of legendary, you know, story, but it's good. Tomb Raider Underworld. I just got this one kind of recently. I have not tried it. I just thought it was interesting that there's a Tomb Raider game like on the DS for some reason. I don't know why they really bothered. It looks like it's like a 2D game. I know they had like Tomb Raider games on the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, so it's not that out of pocket, but it's just kind of weird. I got this at the flea market last year. I've not tried this. Tornado. This is a Korean developed like little mascot game, and I just thought that's interesting. I'd never seen it before, and you don't get too many games that are Korean developed, so I figured I would pick that one up. I don't think it has like the greatest reviews, but kind of just a fun little thing. The World Ends With You. I tried this one a while ago, and this is everything about this game I feel like would be up my alley, and I'd like it. But I just kind of was playing it, and I kind of fell off of it, and I never got back to it. So another one that's probably the highest game right now on the DS backlist is this one, backlog, and I'd like to play it, but I have the sequel too, because I was like, I better just buy the sequel before it gets hard to play, because I'm sure I'll like it, but it's just like, I just haven't had the time for it. Yoshi's Island DS, it's serviceable, it's fine. The developer behind this one, Artoon, which is now Arzest, they made everyone's favorite game, Balan Wonderworld. I think the Yoshi's New Island on 3DS is like way worse than this one, but this one's not. This one's fine. It's just nothing too special. Obviously not as good as the original one. And then the last one, Legacy of Ease, books 1 and 2. Yeah. So that's it for my Nintendo DS collection. Leave a comment down below with your favorite DS game, any games that you think I should add to my collection, or any games that you think that I haven't played yet that I should give a shot. And other than that, I'd like to thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And until next time.